vitals are amazing. You're in perfect health, even for you. I'd like a urine sample just to confirm, but everything looks great.
Man, you love urine. You love the testing of urine, the testing of the urine. You know what I meant.
Why do you have to ruin science?
It's good to have you back.
Right back at you.
Good to have you back. How you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah, I feel incredible. I don't know. It feels like I've been reborn.
Hey everybody, The Flash is back with a crazy beard. So this is going to be my Easter egg video. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. There's a new round of the Justice League ticket giveaway too. I'll announce a new winner at the end of this. But there's so much to unpack here. Who is surprised that they went straight to Thinker? Like, it's nuts that they introduced him in the first episode, but I actually think that they did this the right way. He's gonna make Barry run the gauntlet, and it was all a setup to get him out of the Speed Force, so the Thinker is playing everyone without knowing they're being played. Like, Cisco wanted to bring Barry out, and this provided the excuse for that, but the Thinker wanted this to happen. That's what the Samuroid was all about. And they name-dropped another big villain too, Amunet Black, the blacksmith, who's going to be Katie Sackhoff's character, who will show up later this season. So let's just go through top 10 WTF comic book Easter eggs, starting with number 10, Run, Iris, Run. There were so many things that went back to the first pilot episode, a lot of scenes that mirrored scenes from the first episode, a lot of music cues. The line of dialogue, Run, Barry, Run, was the first part of that. But then number 9, you get the roll into Team Kid Flash or Team Vibe. They're just having a lot of fun with the idea of what do they call themselves now. And they're doing pretty good, but Iris says that a lot of the people, like a giant chunk of the criminals that they lock up, have been escaping. So like they just can't quite do it without Barry. So there are all these things telling them that they need to bring him back. The Samuroid is just the tipping point. Like, if you don't bring him back, I'll blow up the city. We get to see Peekaboo back. We haven't seen her, I think, since the end of season 1. I love Cisco's line about hating teleporters, given that he himself is a teleporter. He does hate himself a little bit, I imagine. But number 8, we find out what's happened since last season. So we learned that Joe and Cecile are getting ready to move in together. There's a lot of weddings that are happening this season on the shows. There's supposedly a second one. Barry and Iris are supposed to get married. That's sort of a given in the big 4-night crossover. But there's rumors of a second wedding happening, and everybody seems to think that it's going to be Oliver and Felicity. I don't know if that's true, but that could be misdirection because Joe and Cecile are moving in together. Maybe they wind up getting married too. But Julian has gone back to London. Tom Felton, I guess, just didn't want to be on the show. And Caitlin has been working at this dive bar, who we learn is sort of in bed with Amunet Black, aka the blacksmith, like I mentioned. So I'll talk a little bit about her later in the video, because she's not going to be a much bigger deal till later in the season. But number 7, even though she's really nice with Cisco, she still has a lot of problems regulating her Killer Frost abilities. So it seems like more of an emotional state that she's in. When somebody pushes her and she gets really pissed off, that's when it manifests, and she has some trouble pushing it back down inside her when she's done with that. So like at the end of the episode, when the douchebag gets up on her and she's like, I will rip you to shreds. And then she runs off like she's afraid, like, oh my God, please, not again. I'm not ready for this. But number 6, we finally meet the Samuroid. We learned that Wally speaks Japanese, and I think it's more of an Easter egg for the first appearance of the Samuroids from the comics. So obviously in this episode, they're being made and controlled by the Thinker, but in the comics, there was a person called Baron Katana, and it was like a Wally West goes to Japan type of story, like Wolverine in Japan. So Wally saying that he can do things is just a way of reminding you that he has a lot of badass skills too. But probably the most memorable Thinker arc in the comics was from the Wally West Jeff Johns era. So a lot of the way the Thinker looks, a lot of the characters that they're using is all right out of that. So if you want to read that Thinker arc, it actually starts with the Flash Crossfire story, and it's Flash Volume 2, number 184, I think, is the first one. But there's a couple issues before that and a couple issues after that. But it involves the Keystone City Bridge, which they mention in the episode. So there are a lot of verbal references to things that happened during that story, even though they changed things for the TV show. So I'll try to point all that out when I post my Easter egg videos this season. But number 4, probably one of the biggest comic book things that we've seen so far, is Wally in Barry's old costume, just like after Crisis on Infinite Earths when he became the main version of the Flash after Barry had gone into the Speed Force. So there were a couple references in the episode where people said things like, you're not the real Flash, you're still Kid Flash. The Samuroid kept telling him that, you're not the real Flash. Like, Wally is not the main version of the Flash. So him putting on the red costume was sort of a wink at that comic book story. And then, obviously, him being hoisted up on the katana is this comic book cover here. Cisco makes a whole bunch of samurai references. Kurosawa was a famous Japanese filmmaker, made a lot of awesome samurai films. Reverse Excalibur, he puts the sword in the stone instead of pulling it out. Cisco's back in the t-shirts, don't take me to your leader. But number 3, they pull Barry out of the Speed Force using a team of all the TV shows. So you have Tracy, they name drop her, so even though she's not on the show right now, she's still helping them out from afar. You have Curtis and Felicity, you have Harrison Wells from Earth 2, all combining together to find a way to trick the Speed Force into thinking that Barry is still there. So how could that not end badly? Obviously, something later this season is going to go sideways. Maybe that has something to do with freeing the Reverse Flash from the Speed Force. They could take it any number of different directions. And then you have all the symbols that Barry's writing. This house is bitchin'. I love the joke there. So the whole thing with that is that obviously there is this secret language. I've already talked a little bit about how this is like the movie Arrival. It's this crazy language they need to decipher. Once they understand it, it's sort of like unlocking the secrets of the universe. Like Cisco has the Hitchhiker's Guide joke, the universe, life, and everything. The answer to that would be 42, like the answer to all these symbols. That'd be so hilarious. But the thing is that you probably heard a couple lines of dialogue when Barry was speaking gibberish that sounded familiar. He says things that happened in the past, so like he says to Oliver, I'm not like you. That's a scene from when Barry first became the Flash. He talks about needing more diapers. That's Iris and his twins from the comics. So he's referencing things that happen in the future and things that happen in the past. Remember, when he was in the Speed Force, time wasn't linear for him, so he experienced all these different things. So he's just repeating lines of dialogue that he had previously on the show and stuff that will be happening later this season probably, and maybe even in the distant future too. But most of the stuff from the future I think will be from the future of this season, with the exception of the twins, unless Iris becomes pregnant at the end of this season. So Easter egg for that, at the end of the Thinker comic book arc, Wally West, because remember it was the Wally West era, and Linda Park are married. They find out that they're pregnant with twins because Wally West also had twins, just like Barry had twins. I guess twins run in the Flash family. But as far as I know, they're only doing the wedding. It would really be speeding things up for their characters if they got pregnant at the end of this season. And then they actually try to do children on the Flash. But there's a number of different ways to do stuff like that. So we can talk about it if it looks like they're actually going to do it. But for now, I wouldn't worry about that. Number 2, Barry versus the Samuroid. So this is actually pretty cool. Iris actually throws herself on that sword, metaphorically, not quite literally, just to shake Barry out of his funk because she knows that he'll always come save her. Like she just has faith that's going to work. In that line of dialogue from Joe, pretty much explained what season 4 is all going to be about faith, about believing in things. So it turns out she was 100% correct. The weird thing is that after he runs out, it's a really cool scene when he takes the Samuroid down, is that he says he doesn't remember how he knew that Iris was in trouble because he's all three-eyed Raven here. But that's probably just because she's his lightning rod. They might choose to explain that on the TV show. But then obviously number 1 is that post-credit scene with the Thinker revealing himself all Brainiac looking. So this is sort of an amalgam of the different looking versions of the Thinker from the comics. So there have been about 3 different versions of the character. Because he's so technologically inclined and plugged in looking, I'm thinking that they are sticking pretty close to Jeff Johns' Thinker. But that was more of a Matrix type story. The person working with him here is the mechanic, and obviously this is all going according to their plan, like he wanted them to bring Barry out of the Speed Force, so it's all very analytical for them. And the thing is that he has this plan for making the world a better place that involves using the Flash, so he needs the Flash to bring his plan to fruition. So we'll learn more about that as we get more episodes. But all in all, I feel like it was a solid episode, bringing things all the way back to season 1. Like he shoots up in bed, they ask for the pea cup, they even play the Lady Gaga scene from season 1, they have the Ferris airfield. So obviously there's a couple things that are missing from the show right now. Harrison Wells hasn't come back yet. They name dropped a lot of Arrow things that are happening. We learned about Katie Sackhoff's blacksmith character that we might not meet till episode 5. I don't think it's going to be till later this season, but before the big crossover. But all in all, it seems like it's going to be a really strong first half of the season. So everybody, let me know in the comments, what did you think about it? What'll happen is I'll post my trailer video for episode 2 tomorrow. Then I'll post my Legends of Tomorrow episode 1 video. And Arrow is on Thursdays now, so my Arrow videos will post those nights. But congratulations to the latest Justice League ticket giveaway winner. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so black rakeage, please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. While you wait for everything, you can click here to watch Barry kick ass again, and you can click here to rewatch that Justice League trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.